Hey, everybody. Welcome to CarnivorousGrama Speaks, and welcome back to all of my returning viewers. In today's episode, I'm super excited to be here with Rick, the 40 plus, I'm going to call it 40 plus year carnivore now. I'm calling him an OG because he's been doing carnivore for over 40 years. And so we want to talk to him about what it's like to thrive on the carnivore diet for actual decades. Like, I don't know anybody else who's been doing it as long as he has. So Rick's here. He's going to share his story. He's going to share his insights, give us hopefully some tips for success. And so just want to ask you guys to go ahead and like and share and subscribe so you never miss another episode of CarnivorousGrama Speaks. Hey, Rick.
Hey.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, if you don't know who I am already, I'm Rick. I've been known as the 39, 40, and 41 year carnivore. I did my first YouTube interview in August of 2022, and I was explaining to everyone that I had started the carnivore diet as a form of protest in 1983 when I was 15 years old. And I've been on it pretty much ever since, with a 7-month break to prove some people wrong. And I live in Miami. There's not a lot of other people here that eat the way that I do or have the same lifestyle, but I have a lot of friends and they've known me for decades and they know that I'm the strange bird around here. I call myself the original quack because, first of all, I love ducks. And second of all, my diet, I call it the heart attack diet because I was always told that it'd give me a heart attack and I'd be dead, by my 50s. Of course, I'm 56 years old now, and it doesn't seem to be working that well because I have a lot of energy and I'm always on the move. So that's a basic introduction. Again, all you got to do is go on YouTube. I've been on many of the carnivore channels. I've been interviewed by Dr. Sean Baker and Anthony Chafee and pretty much all the carnivore influencers, with a couple of exceptions. I've never been able to meet a couple of more popular ones like what's his name, the country doctor Barry, or there's a couple of
Dr.
others, but yeah,
Mhm.
but they have their group, and there's the other carnivore communities that are more popular. I'm one of the least popular, but I'm one of the
No
friendliest.
way.
Well, I mean, I have a very small YouTube channel. I have about 3,100 people on my YouTube channel. I've been on YouTube since 2007, but I didn't start talking about the carnivore diet until 2022. Actually, I don't
Yeah.
think I put a carnivore video on my channel until 2023. So, before that, it was about energy, engineering, old cars, and stuff like that. That's the reason why my YouTube channel is named Charger Mopar, which is
Mhm.
after my favorite car, which I have, 1969 and 1970 Dodge Chargers. So
Wow.
that's what this channel was for. But again, I may have only had a couple hundred subscribers at the most. But once I got interviewed on the carnivore channels, then I started getting more viewers, more participation. And I'm happy about that because
Yes.
my biggest goal for going on YouTube was to meet people. And if something that I said or did could influence somebody to make their life better, that would be really nice. I'd be very happy about that.
Yeah, Rick. I mean, I've been seeing you around. Certainly, you have been on a lot of the channels that I watch. And I think it's absolutely fascinating that you have been doing this since the age of 15. And so I did want to just come back, like circle back a little bit to this protest that you were doing when you first started at the age of 15. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, what it is, I was one of those kids that never was very popular. In fact, I was a kid that always got picked last whenever they had some game to play in elementary school or junior high. Was little, skinny, short, and somewhat shy at the time, and I was always trying to fit in, but I never really could. And I had a few bad experiences, and then what was it, summer of 83, I was trying to help my dad put up a carport and I fell through the roof and I broke my arm. And then I felt like a lame duck with a broken wing, and I was going to go to high school in a couple of months. So I was really just horrified because of the bad time I had in junior high. And I was thinking about high school. You got all these fully grown kids. And remember, when I finished junior high in ninth grade, the girls were taller than me. and I was
Oh,
skinny. I
wow.
looked like somebody from elementary school. So it was really very frustrating. In fact, I put a picture of myself in my 1983 drama class that I was in, and you can see that I'm like the littlest of all the kids. So I was really upset. And people had always given me advice. My dad had told me that, eat rice and beans and all that, and you'll get stronger, and then exercise and do this and that. None of that stuff ever worked. So I just, I was really frustrated. And since I broke my arm, I was stuck at the house. My mom was taking classes because she was a teacher and she had to renew her certificate. And my dad, he worked. So during the day, I was by myself and there wasn't much to eat because, again, what am I going to do? So I decided I'm just going to start making my own food. And I figured, well, if I'm making my own food, I might as well cook something I like to eat. So I went to the refrigerator and the freezer and I looked for the meat and the cheese and anything that was tasty. And I just started eating that. And when I was growing up, another thing that my parents had done, they had gotten me away from butter and they were into this skim milk and everything that was pretty much low fat, a lot of that whole wheat crap, oatmeal, bran, wheat germ, and then a bunch of
Mhm.
vitamins, stuff like that, brewer's yeast. And I said, you know what? I don't care anymore. I'm going to eat whatever I want. And hopefully I'll get sick. I figured if I didn't, because I hate fruits and vegetables, if I didn't eat any fruits and vegetables and I just ate a bunch of fatty meat, and then eventually I had a little money that I made. I used to fix lawnmowers for kids in the neighborhood. So I had cash. I could go to the Grand Union. I could go there on my bike and get some butter, get some lard, or whatever else was really fatty. I actually discovered that in the meat shop, they used to throw the fat away. So I would get that and then try to cook it up. And I discovered that, you can make cooking fat from meat, from the fat that they threw away. So that's what I started doing. I started cooking. I'm making burgers and, cooking up fish and chicken and whatever else I could. But see, like when my mom cooked chicken, she used to do shake and bake. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh,
It,
yeah.
and it was just, I hated that stuff. You put it in the oven. The chicken was kind of, didn't taste great. It was kind of slimy. It was not tasty at all. Either that or it was so dry, it was like eating an old shoe.
Yes.
So
We used to
I was,
cook the meat to death back in the day, that's for sure.
that was the other thing. Now, because of that, there was also a show called The Dukes of Hazard, which you had Boss Hogg, which was the fat guy that smoked cigars. He was like the boss of the county. He used to eat
Mhm.
raw liver. That was the one thing that nobody else would eat. So when I
Mm.
had a chance to get my hands on some liver, I tried that too. And I found out it was actually quite good because my mother had made liver for me before. That was the one thing that, because my mom, she was anemic when she was little, and she said, well, if you want to gain weight, maybe you could have some liver. But the way the liver was cooked, it was so tough and had a metallic flavor. It was really bad. So I started actually eating raw liver, and it was pretty good. And also, I was able to cook poultry livers, and they were reasonably tasty.
Mhm.
So the diet started by accident. And what it came down to was that the couple of months when I was out of commission with a broken arm and I was stuck at home and I kept eating this way. Then when it was time to go back to school, my arm was in a sling, but I was taking meat to school. So I would cook the meat at home. I take it to school. I got used to eating it cold. It didn't matter. Eventually I learned how to can meats. And what I started doing, I started canning it and I would put Chef Boyardee labels on there so it would be a disguise. Nobody would know what was in it. Nobody would touch it. Because, see, when I was younger, kids used to like to steal my lunch because I got picked on a
Mhm.
lot. But when I started bringing Chef Boyardee cans, nobody wanted that nasty stuff. Plus,
Yes.
you had to have a can opener to open it. So that was another thing. But yeah, when I got to high school, I was eating the carnivore diet, at home, bacon, eggs, steak, or any other meat, pork, a lot of pork chops, eggs. I would have 3, 4, 6 eggs a day if the eggs were cheap enough. When I got older, I started eating a dozen eggs a day because I
Mhm.
was determined to get that heart attack. But no,
You
it
never
didn't
got
happen.
it.
I never got it. Now, the interesting thing was I wanted to gain weight, but I wasn't gaining weight. My weight was still wasn't doing much. But what was happening, the first thing I noticed is my feet started to grow. Then I had to get bigger shoes.
Mhm.
Then I started gaining weight. But the thing was, I didn't look any different. So I was gaining weight. I might have gained 10, 15 pounds in 10th grade. But what I didn't realize, I was getting taller. And by the time I got to 11th grade, I was about as tall, as some of the taller boys in school. And by 12th grade, I was the second tallest in the school. So in the span
What?
of 3 years, I grew an amazing amount. And I didn't even feel it. That's
Wow.
the funny thing.
That is crazy. Like you normally when you're growing that fast, you're gonna have those growing pains.
Never
You talk
had
about
it.
that?
Never.
Wow.
It's
Amazing.
incredible. And the other thing is that a lot of my friends, they used to get acne. I never had that either. And I
Nope.
was told that if you eat a lot of fat, it's going to give you acne. You're going to get on your face, your back, and all that. Nope, did not
Yeah.
happen to me. The other kids I
Wow.
knew that had it, they weren't eating the fat that I was eating.
Mhm.
And I also, one thing that kids, well, in the 80s, I don't know if you remember, everybody used to have their hair kind of fluffed out. That was the style back then. And I
Mhm.
tried that when I was younger, but kids used to mess up my hair and they spit in my hair. So I got
Oh.
mad. So I used to get Vaseline, like, the Vaseline, and put it on my hair. So every time somebody tried to mess it up, their hand was covered in grease. But, but then after watching a Tom and Jerry cartoon, I saw Tom put lard in his hair. He was trying to do a zoot suit. I think he cut up
Mhm.
I forget what he did. A hammock or something like that, and he put lard in there. And I thought, that's not a bad idea. So I put lard in my hair. And my mother told me,
Wow.
you can't do that because it'll make your hair fall out. Well,
Isn't that something? Rick, I want to just say that there are so many men with this male pattern balding. And I heard from a few carnivores that their hair started to turn back black, that their hair started to grow back in. All of this kind of thing is happening on a carnivore diet. It's absolutely incredible. Your hair looks you got a nice full thick head of hair. That's nice. Very nice. Wow.
it, so everything that they told me as a kid was incorrect. The heart attack, you're going to gain weight.
Yeah.
I'm skinny. I don't have a gut. Out of all the 56-year-olds I know, I still look like I did in my 20s or 30s. From a distance,
Wow.
I've had people tell me that I look like a teenager. Now, when you look up close, you can see I got a few wrinkles here and there. I've been working
Mhm.
outside in the sun, and I've been exposed to all kinds of plants and dirt and all this stuff. But compared to the other people my age, I have a lot more energy. And I think that, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think I actually look better because I don't
Mhm.
look so worn out. A lot of people, they're just, I don't know, they drag along. They get up in the morning, they got to have their coffee, and they can barely move. And some of these people are in their 20s. They're complaining about aches and pains and back trouble and all that. I don't have any
Yep.
of those things. I
Wow.
have zero chronic issues, and I haven't
Mm.
been to a doctor since 1996.
No
So,
way.
yes.
That is amazing. Wow. So you were thinking if I do this, so it sounds like as a teenager, and I always say that junior high school is hell. I think junior high school is the absolute worst. It's horrible for young kids. And it's a problem. So I always say that junior high school is hell, but it sounds like you were dealing with a little bit of depression coming out of junior high school, which you seem to have dealt very well with by implementing your own carnivore diet.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, but it actually twisted the way that I was because I rebelled on so many levels. I got to the point where I hated everything from the 80s. So I went back to the 50s. That was my time. So I changed my look and everything. So I tried to shift like I was, before my time. And that's why I dress the way I do. I got the hairstyle, the way that I talk, all that. It was supposed to be like the 50s
Mhm.
because I was just frustrated. I was a kid that tried my best to fit in, couldn't fit in. So I thought, what could I do to be just completely outrageous to the point where I wouldn't fit in with anybody? And that's what I did. That's why I got into the old cars and all the other stuff that I have. That's why to this day, I still use a rotary phone because I do everything the old way.
Yeah. Wow. That as well. So you're more of a protest type of person. You're
Yeah.
just protesting the whole thing of it. But what did your parents think about you eating all this meat? And did they join you at all in your with the food that you were cooking?
No, no. You see, my dad was very health conscious. My dad at one time had actually tried a vegetarian diet, but it didn't work for him. Said that he just didn't have a lot of energy, but he believed a lot in whole grains and leafy greens. That was something that he really, really wanted to push, and all the vitamins and all that stuff. And they tried their
Mhm.
very best. But whole grains was very important for him. They also ate seaweed, believe it or not. And to me, it just seemed like, why would you eat this stuff? Now I'm a guy that likes to grow plants. I have a garden to this day. I grow fruits and vegetables, which I share with my friends. I don't feel guilty about giving it to them because, I don't see that it's anything bad about it. If you can eat it, why not? But I came to the idea that plants were not willing participants, and that a lot of times, you couldn't just go outside and eat whatever you want. I mean, you could go outside and eat grass, but you're not going to be able to get anything out of it. It just tastes nasty,
Right.
and it's just,
Mhm.
what's it going to do for you? It's going to do nothing. So my idea was, if you're going to eat any plant parts, you want to eat the parts of the plant that are the best to eat, like certain fruits, maybe certain vegetables. They need to be cooked, they need to be fermented, they need to be prepared a certain way, because we can't just eat plants. But
Right.
my dad was very much into what he called phytonutrients, which are
Mm.
supposedly plant nutrients. But to me, it didn't make sense. Now, he was very much against sugar, which I thought was really interesting.
Oh,
Although
interesting.
they did give me brown sugar when I was a kid. They used to put brown sugar on the oatmeal as a way to get me to eat it. But all it would do is make this crust, and it was super nasty. And I would just wait until my parents were out of the room. I'd open the window and flip the oatmeal outside into the dirt, and the ducks would come and eat it. Then I wouldn't have to eat it. The eggs,
Yeah.
that's the first thing I would get. If my mom brought me breakfast, there was oatmeal, eggs, and maybe a piece of fruit. The first thing I ate was the eggs. Maybe I'd eat the fruit, the rest of it went out the window.
Wow. Duck food.
Duck food, that's what I called it.
Yes, yes. Well, I actually hated oatmeal as a kid. It was so it just was so slimy and it was
Ugh,
just horrible. It was just horrible. And again, they would put a bunch of sugar in it to try to make it more palatable or put raisins in it, to
mhm.
try to
Oh,
make it
yeah,
more
raisins.
palatable.
I
And
used to get you remind me, I used to get a box of Sun-Made raisins with my lunch. I hated those nasty little things. Oh,
mm,
but I'd throw them to the ducks too, so that
oh
wasn't
my
too bad.
gosh. Well, I enjoyed it because it was sweet. But the oatmeal itself, I agree with you, definitely duck food. So you guys, there's a lot of people here. We're going to go ahead and say hi to some people really quick before we move on. But if you guys have questions for Rick, please drop your questions in the chat. So Paul McGrogan is here. Hey, Paul, welcome. We're so glad that you are here. And then we have Ann Haish's liver donation. Welcome. So glad that you're here. Um, Kablina, Kabenla. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so happy that you're here. Josephine C is here. And then we have Richard Williams from Copper Hill, Tennessee. Welcome. We're so glad that you're here. Karen Harrington is here. So glad to see you're here. And then DS111. Rick is my favorite carnivore celebrity. You are definitely, I mean, you're like an OG. That's what I put in when I think about you, is that Rick is the OG, the original gangsta of carnivore. And I love it. CJ's here and L Dan is here. Carnivore Muscle is here. So happy that you are here. Carnivore Muscle said people need to fit in with Rick, not the other way around. Everyone else is in the wrong dimension. It seems, we're all dealing with the fact that everything that we were taught about food and eating is upside down and backwards. And I find it fascinating, Rick, that you were able as a 15-year-old to just decide that, I think that I'm just going to eat meat and I'm going to eat real butter. I'm not going to eat the margarine. I mean, a lot of kids don't like vegetables and we wonder why, but they probably shouldn't like them, right?
Hmm.
Kids don't like vegetables. And I just think it's amazing that you are able to go directly to the diet that most human beings should be on, and limiting those vegetables. So that is absolutely fantastic. I love that. William McCartney is here. Hi, William. We're so glad that you are here. And let's see, what else do we have? We got some comments down here. Wild Iris Farm is here. Welcome, welcome, welcome from Santa Cruz, California. So glad that you're here. And then Ricky Lee says, guy's name Rick Rule.
Got that right.
That's right. And then Ricky says also that you finally started your cooking show. I did see that you were cooking today.
Yeah.
And you can tell us a little bit about that cooking that you were doing.
Well, I've done a lot of cooking videos over the last couple of years. I've done my heart attack chicken, heart attack burger, heart attack iguana, boiled iguana. I don't think I had a duck video, but YouTube deleted it because I think when
Oh.
I cut the head off the duck, they weren't that happy about it. So I don't know. I mean, it's who knows about YouTube. But yeah, I just once in a while I'll put a video of what I'm cooking because it's pretty basic. A lot of times, see, my dad used to like watching cooking channels. And I remember as a kid, they used to have the French chef for Julia Child. Ooh, they had that funny voice.
Yes. Yes.
And I used to look at that and I go, why is there so many things going on here? You got to add this and do that and this temperature and then oven and like, oh, come on. All you got to do is get a piece of meat, throw it in a pot or put it on the grill and cook it up and that's it. To me, it seemed like a lot of work for nothing. And
Mm.
most of those foods I didn't like. I was one of those rare kids that did not like cookies. I do not like cake. I pretty much don't like anything except for meat and eggs and some dairy. And it's what can I say? But yeah, I mean, I love that stuff. And the thing is, I've had people message me and say, well, Rick, how can you stay on the strict carnivore diet? It's like, strict carnivore diet? I don't know. It doesn't feel strict to me. I eat what I
Mm.
like. I eat for taste. I eat until I'm satisfied, and that's it. I eat 3 times a day. As soon as I get up in the morning, I go to the kitchen, I cook breakfast. Then I have lunch whenever I can. And I have dinner somewhere between 6 and 8. I do it
Hmm.
every day. I never snack, and I never crave anything, no matter where I go. A lot of
Wow.
times I work with people that eat fast food for lunch. I have a portable grill that I keep in my truck or van, or I can cook on the engine and I'll eat my own lunch. And they'll go to McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or Popeyes or one of these other places. And they show me the food. Do you want some? I'm like, I don't want that. Or, Papa John's or Pizza Hut or one of those places. Everybody's always offering me a pizza. And I'm like, why would you offer me a pizza? There's no ducks around here. They look at me funny. You know, what I've tried to do, I've tried to eat the pizza toppings at times, but even that doesn't agree with me. For some reason, these commercial pizzas, I can't eat them. I can
Hmm.
eat exactly 2 slices of pizza, and 3 hours later, I'm going to have the worst diarrhea of my life.
Oh man.
It's horrible, and it's bad. But now I do make my own version of pizza, and I don't do it very often. But I use white meat chicken for the crust, and it's deep
Hmm.
fried in pure lard, and
Oh.
it's got plenty of ground beef. Occasionally, I'll even put some tomatoes on there, which is fine, but that's rare. Most of the time, it's just cheese and yogurt and meat and maybe some sausage or seafood, and that's it. That's my version of a pizza. But
Yeah.
they love pizza. I don't understand it,
I
you
love
know?
pizza,
See?
sadly. And it doesn't make me sick, which it would be easier if it did. Be easier to I like the pizza toppings. So as a matter of fact, I had pizza toppings yesterday. But like
Mhm.
what kind of meats are you eating? So are you eating all the meats or are you focused mainly on ruminant meats or does it matter to you?
Well, I'm a poor man, so I eat whatever I can get. I will My preference has always been for for beef or lamb or venison or one of those ruminant meats because they just taste better. But I do eat a lot of poultry. They have chicken on sale. I have chicken, turkey, or I can get my favorite is wild chicken. Wild chicken is the best because it's a little
Mm.
tougher, but it's more flavorful. You can go to the parking lot behind Presidente or Winn-Dixie. There's chickens running all over the place. And you just have to get, I mean, depends on how tame they are. Sometimes you can get some corn in a net, but most of the time you're going to have to use a crossbow or air rifle. And then you catch your chicken and then basically just take it home and pluck it, gut it out, and you can have some really delicious. You can either boil the chicken, or a lot of times if it's really tough, you can use a pressure cooker and
Mhm.
soften the chicken. But most of the time I just throw it in the hot beef tallow and cook it up and it's delicious. Also, we have these big lizards that live by the canal, the iguanas. And a lot of times, if there's a lot of them there, I can go and shoot a few of those. An iguana will make a nice meal if it's big enough. It may take two smaller ones, but yeah, I do eat iguana. And you can see in some of my videos, there's actually a video I have where I have 5 or 6 of them in the sink that I was preparing
Wow.
to eat. Oh, yeah, I love iguana. So it doesn't really matter what kind of meat it is. I do
Mhm.
prefer the ruminant meats, but I'll get what was that? I'll get any kind of meat. Okay, there we go. My
There we go.
computer is extremely old. But yeah, I'll get whatever kind of meat that I can find and cook it up. And I also do eat seafood when I can get it. When I used to live, near the coast, I'd get a lot of seafood. So I did eat a lot of fish and shrimp and all those other things, clams,
Mhm.
whatever else I can get. So I'm not that choosy, but I do try to eat at least 1 pound of beef per day, and then the rest of it could be anything.
Okay. So I have a question about the chickens that are out running around. Are those just wild chickens that you can just pick one off whenever you want? I would think that the chickens belong to somebody, but they don't, huh?
No, what it is, in this stupid county here, in the residential neighborhood, the chickens are illegal. If they catch you with chickens, they'll fine you. So what a lot of people do, they just turn them loose. And because we have warm weather and not a lot of predators, they breed. So pretty much
Mm.
every shopping center is going to have its flock of chickens. There's even chickens around the courthouse downtown, which I think is kind of interesting. So any place that you have some open space and people throw food or there's just stuff to eat, there might be some dirt. They love to dig around, eat bugs. I've seen them over there by the old railroad tracks. There's always
Mhm.
like a little flock of chickens somewhere. And a lot of time, even in the park, sometimes you'll find them. So it all depends. Sometimes they come and go. Sometimes the predators will eat them. But around here, there's 2 shopping centers that are full of chickens. And if you go there at the right time, you'll hear roosters crowing, chickens running all over the place, chicks.
Wow.
It's hard to find the nests. I very rarely get to find the eggs, but they're
Mhm.
good at hiding the nests. But yeah, there
Yeah.
are wild chickens, and they do tend to breed. I think there used to be some behind the post office also. So they tend to hang out in certain
Wow.
areas.
30 is here. Hi, 30. And says that those chickens come from the Keys. LOL.
They are when I was in Key Largo, there was a shopping center loaded with chickens, and Key
Wow.
West has had chickens there for a couple 100 years or more, but
That is so interesting. I mean, I live in Michigan, so
too
we do
cold.
have neighbors that have chickens, but of course, this time of year the chickens are not outside.
Right.
Um, but there are no wild chickens running around over here. Nope. We got the best we can get is some bunnies. So we get lots and lots of bunnies. But
Mhm.
I don't think I don't know. I never seen anybody or heard of anybody eating any of them. I think the wild animals just get them, the birds and stuff get them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I would love to be able to have chickens. I've been talking to my husband about it. Like, I would love to have like a little homestead where I can have chickens. In my subdivision, we're not allowed to have chickens, although all around us, the neighbors have their chickens.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So, I would just want to say hi to a couple more people. So, Ribeye Ranger is here. Hey there. We're so happy that you are here. And then Lori's here. Hey, Lori. Glad to see you here as well. So here is a really good thing. This is what Ribeye Ranger is saying is that whenever anyone tries to tell me, but it's unsustainable, I drop your name first and tell them Get back to me after you hear his story.
Well,
Right,
that's true
exactly.
because unlike a lot of people, I wasn't trying to be healthy. I tried to get sick and I failed. Now, I did
Mhm.
try the plant-based diet later on, but that's what really made me
Oh.
sick. So
Oh,
I had to switch
wow.
back to the carnivore diet.
Yeah, I've really found that I can't really tolerate plants anymore. I probably could never tolerate them well. But now every time I try to bring something that is more plant in, like for instance, for Thanksgiving, I made a carnivore stuffing, but I added just a little bit of like onion, bell pepper, and celery and had an eczema flare up with that. And
Mm,
then also my stomach was really upset. I don't think I can eat peppers,
wow.
I think they really do not agree with me. So every plant that I have tried, and I've been carnivore only, I'm just like a newbie compared to you. I've only not even 2 years yet. In February be 2 years. But every time I try to bring something back in, it causes me a problem. The only thing that has not caused a problem has been cabbage.
Mhm,
And I still don't eat it, but I did try it once since I've been on
mhm.
carnivore, and that was the only one that never gave me any issues.
Yeah, I've actually used cabbage to make sauerkraut that I give to my friends, and I do so if I have to eat a lot of chicken or commercially raised stuff, I'll eat that with the chicken as
Mm,
sort of a supplement because I don't know what they're feeding those chickens. So
yes.
that is cabbage, but I can't eat raw cabbage because it doesn't I've tried to eat it. First of all, it tastes really bad, and
Yeah.
second of all, it just does not agree with me, and I get like a stomach pain, not really that bad, but like a little like kind of a twisting. I don't know. It's hard to describe it,
Yeah.
but it just doesn't
It's
hold
not
up.
worth it. Like, why would you do it? Why would you
But what
do it?
but what I'll
Yeah.
do, I'll ferment it. I have glass jars. A lot of times you'll see on my kitchen counter, you'll see ball jars or you'll see the ones with the glass lid. And there's cabbage fermenting in there. And that stuff ferments for 3 or 4 weeks before I'll put it on a heart attack burger. Usually I give it to my friends because if we get together and we're going to have heart attack burgers, they always
Mhm.
want some vegetable material in there. So I'll hand them mustard. We'll put some, sauerkraut in there and they love it. I mean, the flavor because I don't ketchup is a no-no. In my house, you will
Yeah.
never find ketchup. I can't
Yeah.
stand that stuff. I mean, first of all, it smells good, but it tastes bad. It's one of those things. I just don't like it. And again, I will make tomato sauce for friends of mine when we have a
Mhm.
meat stew. But what I do, I grow little tiny Everglades tomatoes. They're these little cherry tomatoes, and I actually ferment them. I have these
Mm.
glass jars that have in salt water, and these things will ferment for weeks. And then it's basically just, mashing it up with the meat, putting it into a pot and letting it cook. Because a lot of people they like a ground meat with tomato sauce. That seems to be
Yes.
real popular. And I'll
Mhm.
do that. And sometimes I'll even put tropical oregano in there that I get from my garden. Because the problem is most of the people I know don't like my food. I've been accused of having the most bland food because the thing is, when you've been eating meat as long as I have, you can taste all the differences in meat. I can taste things
Mm.
that a lot of people can't taste. And to
Right.
me, plain meat, even raw meat, tastes just fine. But to most people, when they eat something like that, they just like, oh, it's so bland. So they want to put salt and pepper and all that stuff on it. And I don't salt my meats. I
I was
never
gonna
ever
ask you
salt.
that. Yeah. No seasonings at all then, huh?
No, I never salt steak or ground beef. Now I will salt chicken occasionally, because chicken for some reason when I eat chicken or certain poultry items, I like to salt that. I don't salt shrimp, I don't salt fish, but
Hmm.
yeah, a lot of the poultry items I just get a craving for salt. But again, if I'm eating it with sauerkraut, that's already salty, so I don't put salt on that. But there's nothing better than heart attack chicken with salt on it.
Oh my
And
God. Rick, I just want to talk a little bit about the heart attack. I've done so many recipes already on my channel using your heart attack method, whether it be bacon grease or tallow or lard, whatever I'm using to fry it up. And It is so, so, so good. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, it's the best thing ever.
Mhm.
Um, Even like roasted chicken in the oven, heart attack style, is so,
Mhm.
so good. It's the absolute best tasting meat ever. But I'm hearing you
Mhm.
talking about heart attack hamburgers, heart attack. Did you say turkey? I think you
Yes.
were cooking heart attack turkey today.
It was
And
delicious.
so, do you do all of the meats heart attack style? I do heart attack shrimp, heart attack fish. So good.
Well, it depends. Sometimes I do boiled shrimp, sometimes I don't even do it heart attack style. It depends on the mood that I'm in. Chicken is basically only heart attack because baking chicken to me just I don't know. And grilling chicken, I never do that. Believe it or not, I don't really like grilled foods. I don't like
Mm.
foods that have that dark kind of charcoal on them. That I don't like that, which is
Yeah.
weird. So my heart attack burgers, they're 4 1/2 pound patties, and they're fried on that little. Well, I use like one of those little griddle pans that you put on the stove, or I have a big one for the barbecue grill. It's just a big cast iron thing, and it cooks in its own fat. And
Mm.
then I get those 4 big fat burgers. I put 8 slices of cheese. Sometimes I'll use bacon, sometimes I don't. And then basically the buns are the best part because I make them, well, they're typically pork rinds and cheese and eggs. And
Uh-huh.
then if you
Yep.
want to make them fluffier, then what I'll do, I'll get some of that sauerkraut water and I'll get some baking soda and use that to
Mm.
make it rise. And when you do it like that, they look almost like a regular bun. But the way I
Oh,
normally eat them,
wow.
they're kind of hard and stiff, but yeah, you can fluff them up. So when my friends come over, we'll do that, and then when they come over, I'll add sauerkraut and mustard to the heart attack burger, and the burger, of course, is dripping with fat. You know, the thing is like this big. I mean, it's a really good sized burger,
That's the
and
size burger I like. A half pound burger cooked in butter, like I call it a butter burger. So good.
mhm.
Absolutely delicious. Yeah.
Well, this is 4 1/2 pound patties.
Mhm.
You know, it's a big burger, and most people I know can't finish it.
So
I
you
can knock
like
out
stack them all
yes.
together? Oh, that's
Yep.
awesome.
Have you ever heard of a
That's
restaurant in
awesome.
Las Vegas called the Heart Attack Grill?
No.
It's a very similar burger to that.
Okay. So next
The
time I
diff
get out to Vegas, I'm gonna have to go and try that.
Yeah, Heart Attack Grill. Now, the Heart Attack Grill, they use some kind of regular bread, but they do have 4 half-pound patties, they have cheese, they put bacon in there. I mean, it was supposed to be a 10,000 calorie burger.
That sounds
But the funny
amazing.
thing is, I ate when the meat was cheap, which was for decades, I used to eat almost every day a Heart Attack burger. Now, it's
Mhm.
like a special treat because the meat's so expensive.
Mhm.
But can you imagine? I was eating heart attack burgers. I was having a dozen eggs, a pound of meat for breakfast, and then for dinner, I mean, it could be anything. And I did this for years and years and years and years, and I never gained weight. So if you think about
Wow.
it, all these people that keep saying calories in, calories out, how can it be? It doesn't
It
make
can't.
sense.
It
It can't.
cannot be. Yeah, it can't be. It literally doesn't make sense. I've heard of so many people, even before carnivore, even when I was on keto, I heard of people eating like 4,000 calories in a day and being very fit and very healthy, very active, and not having an issue with 4,000 calories. And what I think I hear from like I interviewed Coach Bronson, and I think what he was telling me was most of us are not eating enough food. We're malnourished. When we're eating these plant-based diets, we're really just malnourished. We're not eating enough. And so that is a huge problem for people.
Mhm.
This malnutrition. So it sounds like you have experimented with a few different dietary choices. So, like what dietary plans have you tried over the course of the years? And then, like, how has your diet evolved from the time you were 15 till now? What are the differences?
Well, obviously, when I was growing up, I guess I was given a healthy version of the standard American diet. And when I turned 15 and I got frustrated, Then I went to the carnivore diet, I guess you'd call it, but it really hasn't changed much. It was just that, well, in 92, we had Hurricane Andrew. I got access to more beef than I ever could because when everybody's power went off, plus a lot of these stores, they had no power, they were giving away meat.
Mm.
And I had rigged up a generator that ran on wood. This was a project my dad and I did. So I had
Wow.
unlimited power. And I also had gotten a couple of extra freezers because people
Oh
were
my
basically
gosh.
throwing things out right and left after the storm. So I think I must have had 400 or 500 pounds of meat. I mean, I had a
Oh my
tremendous amount
gosh.
of meat and I had this stuff. So I stopped eating everything except for basically just beef, maybe a little seafood. So I guess it was the, I guess lion diet, I guess you'd call it. That's what they call it now. And I
Mm-hmm.
ate that diet and you know, I kept thinking I'm working hard. I was doing a lot of cleanup. We did a lot of volunteer work. Then I did regular work and it was just work, work, work day after day. And I figured I'm going to get sick sooner or later. And I never got sick. And the thing is, I just felt so much better. I mean, even I had been eating the mixed carnivore diet. Now I was eating this full, just beef all the time diet. And I was told I was going to get constipation. I never had constipation. I was always able to go to the bathroom. And I
Mm-hmm.
kept eating this diet until I ran out of the meat. So it was probably, I guess, towards the end of the year, somewhere around December. And I had been living with my parents because, they're in Miami, and I had been getting a lot of pressure from people that I know because they had
Mm-hmm.
seen me eating beef all the time, steaks and ground beef and, all these different cuts of meat, just
Yeah.
tons of meat. And they were telling me, "Rick, you're going to kill yourself with all that meat." And I thought, you know, for some reason, somebody must have gotten to me because I thought, well, okay, I'm going to change my diet and I'm going to
Hmm.
go more plant based. So I started, I stopped eating meat altogether.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then, yeah. And then I still ate eggs and some dairy and stuff like that, but I wasn't feeling any better. In fact, I was feeling worse. I wasn't able
Wow.
to sleep as well, didn't have as much strength, didn't feel as good. So then they were telling me, well, you got to get rid of the eggs and the dairy. So I got rid of that. And then after that, it's like, well, you can't cook the vegetables. You have to eat them raw. So I kept changing and changing and changing. Well, sometime around the end of July 93, I had a complete breakdown. I got the worst flu of my life. I mean,
Oh
I couldn't
my
even eat
gosh.
because everything I looked at made me sick. And I felt terrible. Now, my parents had also gotten sick. So we were all together in the house. Nobody could go to the store. Everybody was sick. And it's just total misery. Well, I was the first one to get sick, then they got it. I was almost 2 weeks feeling like crap. And then finally, when I started to get better, I remember that the thought of eating a fruit or vegetable was just sick. I couldn't do it. So I thought, man, what could I eat? And then I remember walking out the front door and seeing a nest of duck eggs. And I
Oh,
looked at those duck eggs and I thought, you know what? I'm going to try an egg. And that's what I did. So I took the eggs right out of the nest. I cooked them up. I ate the eggs, didn't throw up because I was throwing up everything that I was trying to
oh
eat.
my gosh.
And after I ate the eggs, it maybe in 2 or 3 hours, I started feeling better and better and better. And that was like a revelation right there. I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to eat any more plant material. It got to the point where I said, "You know what? I'm gonna go back to the diet." And I still had some meat in the freezer, and I went in there and I started getting it out. And within a couple of days, I was up and about. Next thing you know, I'm going back to the store. I was over there at the Grand Union in the Winn-Dixie, seeing what they had marked down. And from
Yeah.
that point on, it was carnivore all the way. I never went back to the plant-based diet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that most people are on a primarily plant-based way of eating, right? Because they say fill your plate up with all this plant material and then eat like a just this much meat. And that's so interesting because it's just wild that you got so sick while on plant-based. And then, you go to eating meat and you get well. That's amazing. That's
And
amazing.
my dad used to do a lot of that juicing. There was a guy that used to advertise me. Obviously, had Jack LaLanne. Of course, Jack LaLanne was real popular. He followed him. He didn't. I don't think he ate a lot of meat. And then there was this guy, Juice Man, Jay Cordage, or something like that. And my dad, I still have some of the juicers that he had, these champion juicers and the Oster juicer and all this stuff. And every morning you hear, like grinding this stuff up. When I got a wood chipper, I used to tease my dad. I said, "Look, I got a juicer too. You put this stuff in the wood chipper and the juice runs out." Because I thought it was just plain funny. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, it didn't make sense. You're eating all this plant material for what? It's just a bunch of nasty. And see, my dad taught me in a way indirectly that in order for something to be healthy, it has to taste bad. If it tastes
Right.
good, it's unhealthy. So
Exactly. Yep. That's true. I mean, delicious meats, delicious butter, it's like not
eggs.
good for you. Yeah, eggs gonna give you a heart attack. And it's
Hmm.
funny because all of these things have like come and gone with the eggs. Like, you remember? Like eggs
Eggs are
are
like smoking cigarettes.
and they're gonna make you sick and you're gonna have a heart attack from eating eggs. And then quietly that went away. Like it wasn't on blast that eggs are really like almost the perfect food for human beings, but it was all noised about that it was the eggs were gonna kill you. Same thing with
Hmm. Yep.
like eat this margarine, eat this seed oil instead of butter because butter is going to clog your arteries. And
I
then
remember when I was a kid, we used to make popcorn. We used to do it in a pot, and then it was in some kind of coconut oil or whatever. Well, they said that it was unhealthy, so they bought one of these stupid air poppers. It was like a plastic thing with a hair dryer stuck in it, and it would pop
mhm,
up. And then you couldn't put butter on it because butter was unhealthy, so they would use margarine. So you'd
yeah,
melt the margarine and put it on there, and it tasted like paint. It was terrible, and I
right.
was like,
And it was
"Oh,
watery. It would make your popcorn watery.
yeah." It was disgusting.
Yucky.
So I remember one time I decided to make popcorn. This was before I went on the carnivore diet, and I couldn't get coconut oil, so I got some of the lard and I put it in there, and it actually popped up just fine. It was sort of like my own
Mhm.
version of Jiffy Pop. I got a
Yep.
pan and I put aluminum foil over it and then shook it around and go pop, 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 and it popped up and it worked. And to this day, I have a popcorn machine. When friends have a get together, they love to have a snack, so I'll make them heart attack popcorn. And basically, what it is now, I don't have any now, but I used to grow it. I had a whole backyard full a garden. I used to grow this heritage popcorn that came with like different colors. Some of it was blue, some of it was regular corn color, some of it was like a greenish color. So you put all these kernels in there, and this thing you plug it in, it has a stainless steel pot. Instead of using coconut oil, I use lard. So I get a big chunk of lard, throw it in there, and let it melt. Throw the popcorn in there, and then the butter is real butter. So
Yes.
this thing is just so loaded with fat that and people love it. Let me tell you, they love it. They say, "Wow, this is the best popcorn ever." I
I do
said,
that for my
"Well."
grandkids because I was, like, feeling kind of guilty about giving them the microwave popcorn because of all the toxic chemicals that are inside. So, they love to have popcorn, have movie night over here, so I cook their popcorn in beef tallow.
Mhm.
It is they say it is so and then, of course, coated in a whole bunch of butter.
Well, there
They
you
say
go.
it's so good, and it smells really good. I haven't tried it.
Listen,
Corn
my
is not
mother used to like popcorn, and when I was taking care of her, she always wanted that stupid microwave popcorn, but it is such a pain in the neck. That stupid bag, you put it in there, you turn it on, half of it burns, it smells terrible, it tastes worse,
yeah.
and it's like, "Why do you do that?" So what I would do, I would go over to either the Publix or the other store she used to send me to. They had an organic popcorn. I don't know if it was really the real deal or not, but when I made my mom popcorn, I have this little pot called a whirly pop. It's like this metal pot and it has a crank on it. And then what
Mhm.
it does, you put the lard in there, throw the popcorn in, you crank it, it goes pop, 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 and it pops up. And then I put real butter on there. But my mom still was reluctant. She says, "You didn't put lard in there." I said, "Well, I put coconut oil." Oh, it was like a battle. So she wouldn't want it like that. She wanted it to be in the microwave. I said, Mom, this stuff is full of chemicals. Why would you eat this garbage? Of course, eventually she gave up. She started eating the popcorn that I made, which she actually liked because the microwave popcorn, she complained there'd be a lot of it left over. My popcorn, nothing was left over except for a few unpopped kernels. She would devour that stuff. So, I mean, I don't understand the whole fascination with low fat. It's just, I guess people think that it's healthier, but I went through this all the time. It was like a battle, you know. If my mom wanted a hamburger, she didn't want a heart attack burger. She wanted a little Checkers burger. A Checker burger is so small. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know where the meat is. I was thinking about, the Wendy's commercial with the old ladies. Where's the beef?
There's the
Where's the
beef.
beef?
Exactly. Yep. Yes, indeed. Those little hamburgers are so tiny. It's like, oh my God, you got to eat 25 of them in order to get full.
Exactly. One heart attack burger is probably equal to 10 of those things. No, well, a single heart attack burger. A true heart attack burger is probably 100 of them. And
Right.
the thing is, you're not saving any money. At the time my mom was alive, I could still get ground beef for 99 cents a pound. And I tried
Wow.
to explain to her, because they'd mark it down. I'd get it the day that it was going to expire and I'd cook it up. And
Mm-hmm.
it was so much cheaper. And the thing is that when you're on the road, like I'm, working away from the house, I'd cook on the engine or I'd cook on the portable grill. Why in the world would I waste my time at a fast food place? You got to
Yeah.
drive over there, you got to wait in line, and then they talk at the drive through. I mean, what is the point? I've had to get orders for people. They send me to get it. And that stupid drive through, I don't even go through there. I park the car, I get out, I walk over there. That way I can look at everything to make sure they didn't screw it up, which they always do. And then the smell of that food is disgusting. It's like I'm taking it back to the other people that are working, and I see the duck pond over there. I'm thinking I should throw it to the ducks. No, I'll give it to them. It's
Yeah.
just it's mind-boggling.
It
How
is.
can people even like that stuff?
We've been trained to like it. We grew up eating it and we've been really trained to like it. We've been trained to really love it. I think about my grandkids, I got a whole bunch of them, 11.
Mhm.
And basically, they are totally hooked on it. Totally hooked on it. You got two questions in here. Let me bring those up for you. So Adnan, I don't know how to say your last name. Adnan G wants to know, how did you chip the front tooth, Rick?
This happened back when I was in junior high. I got into a fight, and from what I remember, I got hit in the face with a garbage can lid, and it cracked it.
Oh, that's crazy. Like I said, junior high school is hell. I would not go back to that for anything in the world.
Mhm.
Uh, the second question here is, have you ever fermented meat? If you have, can you talk about it a bit?
Well, the only meat I've ever fermented was fish. I was trying to make, as a joke, my own version of surströmming, which is I think it's Swedish. I don't know what it is. It's one Finnish, or they ferment the fish in salty brine solution, and it smells so bad that they banned it from being eaten on airplanes.
Oh,
And yeah, it's interesting. I fermented it. I ate it. It didn't taste good to me, but I had a friend that they were from Sweden, so they love that stuff. So
wow.
evidently they like it, but I wasn't impressed by it.
No. Okay. Another question here is, did the ducks ever get diabetes? I'm not sure where this question's coming from.
Well, I have a lot of videos of feeding the ducks junk food.
Oh,
No, they haven't. I don't know if they got diabetes, but they have had heart attacks. I did have a duck die, and when I dissected it, it did have arteries blocked. So it
oh,
did get a heart attack.
oh my gosh, that's so crazy. I mean, those processed foods are killers, so we definitely want to stay away from those.
Well, the
Our
ironic thing is the duck was over there by the hospital. It was at the Kendall Regional Hospital, and it was injured. So I brought it home. I don't know if it got hit by a car or what, but his leg was broken, and I tried to set it myself. And Ducky did get better, but then one day just dropped dead. And I'm thinking it
Oh,
wasn't an infection, but when I cut him up, and yes, I did eat him because I saw him die. He just, he started staggering and fell over, and that was it.
oh,
His
okay.
feet were twitching, so I cut him open. because I was going to cook him, but to see if he had parasites or something. His meat was okay, but his meat was very fatty. It looked almost like a I don't know what I'm saying, like a what do they call Wagyu beef or something like that. You know how when the meat has all that fat inside of it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what a lot of his meat looked like. So you know
Oh,
that he'd been
wow.
eating that junk food. The thing is at the hospital, they go outside to smoke cigarettes because they can't smoke obviously in the hospital. They can't smoke
Right.
on the hospital grounds, but by the back door there's a street. So what they do, a lot of the nurses, they smoke for some reason. I don't know what it is. A lot of people that work there smoke. So they go out back, they smoke cigarettes, and then they feed junk food to the ducks. So a lot of the ducks over there are kind of fat and waddly, and they act weird, I guess, because they're eating so
Mm,
much processed food.
yeah.
And I got one duck from there I called him Canal Duck. He had no feathers. He was all torn up, but he
Oh.
actually recovered, and he lived for about a year or so, and then he disappeared. But
Mm.
so I've rescued a lot of ducks from over there, ducklings and stuff. But yeah,
Oh.
they tend to be pretty fat. I mean, I've seen ducks so fat they can barely walk. They
Oh,
just kind of
wow.
limp around. Yeah,
Mm,
this one
mhm.
duck had to weigh over 20 pounds. I mean, he was huge and,
Wow.
breathing hard and just, barely. I mean, it's pretty funny. And I tell my friends, and like, well, they're eating all that duck food. You'd see all the Doritos and the Takis and all the other crap that these people eat that comes in a bag. And the place is loaded with these foil lined bags. And the
Mm.
ducks eat all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, they'll eat anything. We get a lot of geese. I live right across the street from a lake, a pond, really.
Hmm.
And we get a lot of geese over there. Don't get too many ducks, but we get a lot of geese, and those things will eat anything.
Yeah,
They eat everything.
that's right.
Put
They're,
out
they're like
there.
garbage disposals.
Oh my gosh. Indiana Carnivore says, "What the duck?" And then also, are you ducking kidding?
There you go.
Cute. All right. How do you inspect meats for parasites?
Well, it depends on the kind of meat. If you're killing wild pigs, you can usually find the little cysts or nodes that'll be in the meat because they get those trichinosis or whatever worms. So when you cut into the meat, you'll see like these little white spots. That's usually where the parasites would be. On a bird, it's usually going to be in the intestines. So once you gut them
Mm,
out, you can pull out the intestines and cut it open and see if there's any visible parasite activity. Most of the
okay.
time, the microscopic things that you don't see don't matter because when you cook the meat, it's going to eliminate all of them. So
Gotcha.
another thing you can tell is also by the muscle. And a lot of these birds, if they have a lot of like scar tissue or they have a lot of excessive gristle, that's usually indication of having parasite. So,
Okay.
but most of the time you don't find it because a lot of them, when they get the parasites, they become sick and they get eaten by a predator. So usually the sickest birds don't last very long. The exception would be like if they're around one of the buildings here where you don't have any predators and they're eating junk food, then you never know what you're going to get in one of these birds.
Right. I just can't imagine, like, I mean, I guess I would do it if I had to do it, go out and like get a chicken and just cook, like prep it up myself and cook it, but I just can't imagine doing it right now. I've never done it.
Well,
I would have to have some practice.
I mean, you eventually, if you're carnivore, eventually you learn how to prepare your own meat. I know a lot of people that go hunting, and it's
Hmm.
pretty common.
Yes. Yes, indeed. That's true. A lot of people do hunt. I'm not a hunter myself, but I would love to learn to hunt. I would absolutely love to learn to hunt. But then of course then I'd have to like learn how to gut my own animal, which yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, I
Not
mean, when
sure about that.
you buy a chicken or turkey in the store, I mean, you can see what they look like. You just open it up and
Hmm.
pull out the innards.
Yep.
It's the same thing. I mean, ducks. I mean, you ever gone fishing? Cut open the fish and gut that out. That's not hard to
Yep.
do. Scrape
That's
the
true. Yeah.
scales off.
Oh yeah, I grew up doing that with my dad, so
See?
definitely have done that and done that. I mean, I certainly think I could do it. You know,
Hmm.
I definitely think I could do it if I needed to do it. So I have just a couple of last questions for you before we wrap it up. So I'm wondering, since you started carnivore so young, do you have advice that we can give to like young teenagers that maybe are experiencing depression, or maybe they're having issues with weight, maybe like you, they're not growing as tall as they probably could if they were on a proper diet for their species. So I'm just wondering, what kind of advice do you have for kids, that want to maybe try a carnivore way of eating?
Well, I mean, obviously, you have to change your mindset to some extent because a lot of the kids that I've met, they just don't really go for meat. They got hooked on all these duck food snack kind of things. They seem to love that. I don't know too many kids that get excited about steak. A lot of times they
Mhm.
think of steak as an adult food. And I think in my case, that's one of the things that attracted me to it because I hated being a kid. I wanted to grow up and be an adult. So when you think of adults, you think of stuff like steak. Somebody goes, they sits down, they have a big steak, and that's kind of an adult food right there. So I think a lot of it is that kids have been programmed that duck food is fun, all these snacks and stuff like that, and all these goofy colors and flavors and all that. But I don't know how you can convince them because a lot of times kids are stubborn. I know I was. And I was trying to be convinced that there was going to be these healthy foods, so I went to the meat because it was unhealthy. I think maybe it just comes down to kids looking at maybe some of us carnivores. I guess if they looked at somebody like Anthony Chafee or Sean Baker, they might get excited because they have the body that they want. They're not going to get excited by somebody that's a quack like me because I'm skinny and crazy. No one's going to want to, unless you want to be tall, in which case I really do believe that eating all that extra protein does make you taller, which
Mm,
is really kind of interesting because I was always told that the calcium in vegetables is what makes you grow tall. But I
yep.
don't think that's the case. Now, I stopped drinking milk at age 20, so I did drink milk until I was 20, but
Oh, wow.
I continue to grow after that. Now, I
Mhm.
do make and eat yogurt on a regular basis, and I've eaten cheese pretty much every day to this day.
Wow.
So, the dairy may have been part of it, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you get through to kids because the younger people that I know, they think that I'm a bit of a quack, which I am, and trying to get them to eat more meat. Now, I guess if they could eat more meat as a start, that would be a good start. And then just trying to weed off some of the junk food because for some
Right.
reason they just seem really into these chips and all these other snacks. I really don't know what the appeal is, but I don't know. There's
They're highly, highly palatable. So the blessing that you have is that you started at the age of 15, and then you cut out all whatever your parents were giving you. And it sounds like they were pretty health conscious anyway. So they may not have been giving you the Pop Tarts and the sugar corn pops. They were trying to give you some oatmeal, with brown sugar on it.
right. Well, they had all those commercials. They had like sugar crisps and honeycomb and all that other nonsense. My parents believed that stuff was bad for you, and they were correct about that because anything that had sugar added to it, they were against. But then I
Hmm.
found out later that all these grains and these other things have sugar built in. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. I mean, you're adding sugar to more sugar. It doesn't
Right.
make sense. But I'm
Exactly.
not sure what like when I was a kid, the snacks were not tasty. For example, they had Lay's potato chips, and the bag said, "Bet you can't just eat one."
I
And
bet you
I would
can't.
say, well, I said, "I bet I can't even eat one." That's what I would say because I hated those stupid things. They
Mm,
tasted. See, potato chips, I don't like potatoes. For some reason, I hate potatoes. I
okay.
can't stand mashed potatoes. The worst thing that I really can't stand is a baked potato. The smell, the texture is disgusting. I mean, it's like eating dirt. It's nasty. I can't eat those things. And
Mm,
the only way I could eat any potatoes is if they were French fried in beef tallow or lard. The fast food fries, they have that paint smell. Anything that's
mm.
cooked in the seed oils to me smells like paint, and it
Yeah,
doesn't
it
taste
does have
good.
a bad smell. I agree.
When you eat something with seed oils, the inside of your mouth gets coated with this. I don't know how to describe it, but it's almost like I mean, okay, it doesn't make sense because I eat tons of lard and tons of tallow, and I'll eat lard right from the block. I'll eat tallow, no problem. But if you take a seed oil and you put it in your mouth, it's almost like a bad medicine. You know what I mean? And I've done this experiment on my video. I'll eat some lard, then I'll take a sip of seed oils, and
Mm.
it's like instant vomit. It just makes you want to throw up. So now you're cooking your food in this, and to make matters worse, it's not even a fresh, clean seed oil. This thing's been fried in over and over and over and
Yeah.
over again. So it's
Right.
just terrible, and
Yeah.
I can't eat it. And the worst part is, once it starts to cool off, it becomes completely inedible. The taste, the smell, everything is just terrible.
Yeah.
And again, when I was a kid, what did we have? We had Lay's potato chips and we had the Frito Bandito. I don't know if you remember the Frito Bandito, the corn chips.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I am the Frito Bandito and I want your
Yes.
corn chips.
I
Remember
remember
that?
that.
You remember?
Yes.
See?
Yes.
So, and those things were horrible. My mom would give me Lay's corn chips, and they were just disgusting. They were
Yeah.
too salty. They just tasted awful. But then again, when I discovered pork rinds, that was a whole different story because one of
Yeah.
my friends, they were a redneck family. Said, "Oh, here's got some try some pork rinds." I'm like, "What is a pork rind?" And then I tasted it like, "That's really good." And then my mother says, "No, you can't eat that. That's really bad for you. It's going to make you sick."
Yes.
It's pork
Yes.
rinds. You're
That's
going to be
so
fat
funny.
like all those people in Louisiana.
Wow. It's actually the potatoes. They're blaming the pork rinds for what the potatoes did.
Exactly. It's funny. And the thing is, when you don't like any of that stuff, it's not a temptation. But I guess a lot of kids, they've gotten used to it. And again,
Yes.
I see a lot of people snacking everywhere you look.
Mhm.
You look in here in Miami in any waterway, and it is loaded with these snack bags, these plastic
Mhm.
bags with foil on the inside, and it is
Yes.
everywhere. I mean,
Yes.
every
Agreed.
park is loaded with them. Canal, the ocean. They even have cleanup days where they clean up along the ocean. You have water bottles, package. I mean, it's just everything. It's just so
Yeah.
much trash because
Yeah.
people eat so many snacks. And when they go boating, if you've ever been boating with your friends out here, they have this big container full of snacks and they're constantly eating these chips and crackers and all this other stuff. And it's like nonstop.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Wow. We got a question in here for you. And I know you probably don't go, but here's a question about, do long-term carnivores go less often to the dentist?
The last time I went to the dentist was just before I turned 18 because my mother's health plan only covered the dentist until you were 18. That was
Mm.
1986 was the last time I went to the dentist.
Wow.
And this is why my tooth is chipped because I had the tooth filled probably a year or so before that, and it fell out when I turned 30. So from about the time I was 17, it stayed in there and then it fell out when I was 30. But
Mm.
no, I haven't been to a dentist since, but I've never had any tooth pain or anything. And I mean, my teeth are crooked on the bottom, and that was because
Mhm.
when my parents tried to get me to get braces, and it was like $900 or whatever at the time, and they said they had the money for it at the time. I said, "Well, don't do that. Just give me the money. I'll invest it in the stock market. I'll live with crooked teeth." So my
Yeah.
bottom teeth are crooked, but the top teeth were also crooked. And the weird thing is, when I switched to the carnivore diet, the top teeth actually straightened out, but the bottom teeth stayed.
What?
Yeah, you can see
Crazy.
it there. Bottom is
Wow.
crooked, top is straight. Because when I was younger,
Interesting.
some of my baby teeth didn't, the new teeth grew behind them, and then the baby teeth didn't fall out. The dentist had to pull them out.
Mhm.
But interestingly, and I've seen some videos that said that when you eat the carnivore diet, your jaw actually expands. So I think what happened was since I started the carnivore diet, after my teeth had grown in, the
Mhm.
lower jaw didn't increase, but the upper one
Right.
did. Because these teeth
Wow.
used to be inset. They were very crooked on the top, but they did straighten out.
That is
And
amazing. Now, see, that's one that I have not heard yet.
really,
I mean, I've definitely heard about people being taller, and bigger overall, but, as far as the jaw is concerned, I've never heard of that being, that your teeth could be fixed by going carnivore. That's amazing.
Well, my mom said she noticed that my teeth were getting better, and she says, "Well, the way that you rip on meat like a cat, it's no wonder." Because a lot of times I'm always been cheap, so I'd buy the tougher cuts, and I'd sit there and rip these things. See, I'm like a caveman. My mom used to get mad at me because she'd give me the knife and fork and all that, and you're supposed to eat real nice. I don't do that. A lot of times now, if I have to go eat out somewhere, yeah, then I'll have to fight with a knife and fork because I'm dressed up halfway decent. But a lot of times when I'm at home, I'm wearing old clothes or no shirt at all and just chewing on the meat. The meat juices are running all over the place because I eat and then I'm going to go take a bath anyway. So who cares? So
Yeah.
I use my teeth to cut the meat and pull it out, and I'll get like a whole 2 pound. I used to buy the chuck roll and I would just cut it into a big chunk and then cook it
Hmm.
up, roast it. A lot of times I'd roast it in a pot. What I would do is just get some lard or some beef tallow and put it in a pot and heat it up. And then, when it got cooked, then I would just pull pieces out of it and chew it. Don't even bother to cut it. I know a
Yeah.
lot of the carnivores, you'll see them with the cutting board and the
Hmm.
knife and the fork
That
and
would
the
be
salt.
me.
You don't have that here. What I do, I just get a plate, throw the meat on the plate, and I'll sit there and just chomp on it. And there's videos of me eating meat, and that's the way I eat. I eat that because it's convenient. Like if I'm working outside and I cooked up my meat on the engine, I'm not going to have a knife and fork and plate or whatever. I'll just take the meat off and I'll put it on a metal tray and just start chewing on it. And that chewing, I'm pulling on it. I guess it pulls the teeth outward because the top teeth are getting pulled, the bottom one not so much. That may
Right.
be what straightened them
That
out.
makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, so we are like a little bit over time. I just have one more question that I want to ask you, and then I'm going to show your channel. So last question. What question do you wish people would ask you about being a lifelong carnivore?
Um, what question? Let's see. Hmm, that's a good question because there's a lot of things that people do ask me, but hmm, I don't know. That's one narrowing it down to one. Oh, that's a tough one. Well, I tell you what, maybe what I would just do is ask them a question. I'd say, well, why don't you try the carnivore diet? If I can do it, why don't you? You could do it for a month, maybe 2 months. Why not?
Mhm.
So it's like I tell my vegan friends, if you can be vegan, I've tried to be vegan. I tried it and I failed. Why don't you try carnivore? Oh no, I can't do that because I what do they always say? It's for the animals. I don't want to hurt animals.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
But they're willing to hurt themselves and their kids and even their pets. I know some of the vegans, they've practically killed their pets trying to give them that vegan food. I think there's even some vegans online that have killed their cats trying to feed them vegan food. Meanwhile,
Wow.
my cat's eating raw meat and thriving. But
And he's
yeah, that's
spicy.
oh, he's a spicy little thing. He's calm now, but he has his moments. But yeah, definitely, you know, if they ask me, why don't why don't you try the vegan or the plant-based diet? I'll tell them, why don't you try the carnivore diet? Because again, I tried it. I did try it. And I think everyone at least once should try a different type of diet. This is the reason why in 93 I gave it a try because I got tired of people telling me how unhealthy I was going to be and the damage that I was doing to myself. And then I thought, you know what? Let me try it. It didn't work. So, yeah. But
Yeah,
again, I just want to live to see the day when somebody sees me on YouTube and comes up to me in person. It hasn't happened yet. There's
it
never
will.
been anyone. Well, again, how many people are 6'6"? Very few. Miami's a big city. I'm all over the place, and no one has ever come up to me in the last couple of years and said anything about the carnivore diet. I'm very
Yeah.
easy to see, and yet it hasn't happened.
Well, hopefully that will happen someday soon. I can imagine it will because I've definitely been seeing you all over the place, Rick.
Well, that's good. I
So,
try to make myself available.
a lot of people are here from your channel. So, thank you guys so much for coming over and watching this show today. Rick, your story is absolutely fascinating. I would love to see my grandchildren start their carnivore diet now while they're young. Maybe have their parents start guiding them toward a more meat-based way of eating. But it's a challenge because, of course, there's all this addiction, and then also there's the convenience factor. These convenient foods, you can just pull it out. It's in, like you said, it's in a plastic bag with a aluminum foil lining. Real easy to pull it out and just eat it. And so, basically, I want to share your channel really quick for those of you who are here from my channel. We're going to share Rick's channel. So Rick, tell us a little bit about what are you doing on your channel? Here's us right now.
It's a little of everything. My channel is not serious. You don't see me going out there trying to preach to people to go on the carnivore diet. I just put little bits and pieces of my life. Again, I'm not set up to do any editing yet. I'm working on it, but there's a whole list of videos I want to do. And actually, not even so much about the carnivore diet, but about the economy, about how to fix things, how to build things, because that's
Okay.
really what I'm good at. Carnivore diet to me is just second nature. I'm glad to go on channels and answer questions and whatever, but I'm not going to be the guy that goes out there promoting the carnivore diet because again, I don't have a problem with eating plant material for, people that do it because I grow and give away fruits and vegetables. And I do not feel guilty about it because I don't think that it's a bad thing. What I do think is a bad thing is big corporations putting together a bunch of unknown ingredients, selling it to people at a big profit, getting rich, and then the medical system taking advantage of the sick people, getting rich off of them. And meanwhile, the average person is suffering. So, that's the one thing I'm against. And that's really what brought me out of the closet on the carnivore diet. Although I never really was in the closet on the carnivore diet, I never made videos on it. It's just that once I've seen, and if you ever watch like Dave Mack's channel, or even I'm sure Homestead How, everybody knows them. I'm not that popular there, obviously, but some of these channels, you'll see story after story after story. Anthony Chafee's channel. I'm on that channel. I'm actually moderator on that channel. He's got a bunch of stories. Dr. Sean Baker, a lot of stories there. And the more of these people you see, it keeps telling me, it makes me actually feel guilty because all these years I was eating what I called the heart attack diet. I was laughing at it, telling people that I'm going to get a heart attack and I don't care because they'd always say that, oh, here, have some fruits or vegetables. I'm like, I'll pass. Oh, no, you don't eat fruits or vegetables? No, I don't eat fruits or vegetables. Oh, how terrible. Oh, you're going to get sick, you're going to get a heart attack. I said, yeah, I call it the heart attack diet. That's what it's all about. And I think in some ways I may have discouraged people from trying the carnivore diet because they think of it as Rick's heart attack diet. But now,
Mm-hmm.
if somebody asks me a question, all I have to do is say, on YouTube, I want you to look up these people, Dr. Anthony Chafee, Dr. Sean
Yes.
Baker. Check out a YouTube channel called Homestead How. Check out your channel. Check out any channel because you have all these stories and all these experiences that you can look at. This didn't exist 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, the most you had was maybe Sean Baker and Paul Saladino, and that was it. And then you
Right.
had Butter Bob Briggs, who lost a
Yep.
bunch of weight. You know,
My favorite.
there you go. Then he disappeared. But the thing
Yep.
is, this is all that you had. And the thing is, when my dad died in 2012, if he would have been alive at the time when this was out, I may have been able to convince him to stop with all the plants and go
Yeah.
ahead and try more meat because
Exactly.
it's not just young people like me. And you can look at his son. Yeah, you're young, whatever. And you see there's a comment there about Mitch, the old guy carnivore. That's another one.
Mm-hmm.
So you've
Mm-hmm.
got all
Yes.
these people of all different types. You got everyone. I've been interviewed by teenagers. I've been interviewed by 20 somethings. And I've been interviewed by people older than me. You
Yeah.
have Bob, semi retired Bob, basically waiting to die. Now he wants to go off grid. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of people out there that have done that. And then you have who was here earlier. You have Jonathan, Carnivore Muscle, tremendous amount of problems, disability, and still he's a championship bodybuilder. So there's a wide variety of people here that can be an inspiration. I'm not going to inspire
Absolutely.
that many people. Maybe if you want to laugh or whatever, that's fine. But I tell everyone, look, The worst thing that can happen is if you go on the carnivore diet as a teenager, you may be a quack like me. And that's not the worst thing that can happen, because you could be 56-year-old, still active, no aches and pains, tall, thin. I don't have to worry about, I've never been obese. I've never been on an antibiotic. I've been healthy
Wow.
most of my life.
That's
And this
amazing.
is, it's carnivore diet is only part of it, in my opinion. I think also reducing stress, living life differently than everybody else. I don't try to keep up with
Yes.
anyone. I'm not out there trying to compete to be the top of everything. I just want to get by, do my best, and try to make friends with people that are like minded. I'm not trying to be a popular, I'm not trying to be a celebrity. I just want to meet people that think like I do, or people that can respect. They may think differently, but at least they can work with me. They're not going to work against me. And that's really
Right.
what I'm looking to do. I'm not trying to go out there and convert people. I'm not an evangelist. I'm not going to go out there and tell you you're going to live to 120 years old, because I don't think
Right.
you are. I don't think I'm going to live to 120. I think I'm going to live to about 94 and die of a heart attack. That's what I think. My grandfather lived to 94. I think that's what's going to happen to me. I'm going to be a
Yeah.
tall, skinny guy with white hair and just die in my sleep or fall over while I'm doing something outside. So I'm not going to live to 120. But the main thing is, the time that I'm here, I want to make the most of it. And if I can inspire somebody to take the chance, and remember, you're not going to really get any progress unless you take that chance. A lot of times people get stuck in their ways. They're not going to do anything different. They're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. They're going to
Yep.
look for a different result, which they're not going to get. You just have to get off of that sometimes and say, you know what? I'm going to try something different. I'm not saying jumping off a building, because we know where that's going to end up, or
Right.
going out there and eating duck food. You're going to be waddling and quacking. I tell everybody snacking leads to quacking. So you don't want to do that. But you
That's
can look at
right.
us. Look at us carnivores that are going out there sharing our story. We have nothing to gain. I don't make money from YouTube. I haven't even made this much in 17 years, not even a
Wow.
penny on YouTube.
Wow.
The main
Mm-hmm.
reason I go out there is just to get to know people. And I
Yeah.
think that when you see the motivation, you see these influencers out there pushing products, you know what their motivation is. But when you see us relating our experiences, our motivation is, we just want to give you an alternative. You can
Yes.
try this. If it doesn't work for you, okay. But it's not going to kill you. I don't know anybody that died from eating beef.
Right. Absolutely. Rick, you have said a mouthful. I'm going to leave it right there. People want to know where they can find your heart attack recipes. Do you have some up on your channel?
I have some videos. I think what
Okay.
I'll eventually have to do is make like I don't know, I'll make a web page or something that shows the steps, but it's really very simple. Most of my
Yeah.
meals have less than 3 ingredients. For example,
Yeah.
heart attack chicken is chicken and lard. That's it. Or chicken and tallow.
Yes.
So, and heart attack burger is just hamburgers cooked on a griddle. Now the buns, I do need to make a video on the heart attack buns, because I've had people message me saying they were not able to do it. They ended up with a hockey
Mm.
puck. But I'll have to make
Okay.
a video on that, because
Yes, you
the thing is,
definitely need to do that.
once you've had heart attack buns, you won't even want bread. Now, I hate bread. To me, bread is the stupidest thing ever invented. If you make it the right way, it turns into a rock in a few hours and it gets mold on it. And if you make it the wrong way, it's just like a sponge. It's like something you clean your
Yeah,
sink with.
that's true.
So, but heart attack buns are flavorful. They don't fall apart. Regular buns, you can tear them. You can't do that with a heart attack bun. They hold
Okay.
the meat really well. They absorb the fat. Oh, they're really good.
I'm
It's
going to be
just,
looking for that recipe. I do have some of Rick's heart attack. Everything that I cook that's fried is fried heart attack style.
that's it.
So it might not say heart attack in the recipe, but if it's fried heart attack style. So you guys can check those out on my channel as well. Rick, I want
That's
to
it.
appreciate you for coming on tonight. Thank you so much for being here. I heard somebody say that they want to see us back together again. So we're going to have to do another collab. And
Mhm.
we'll definitely get back together again and talk some more.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Rick.
All right.
Like, share, subscribe, and we will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Yep. Bye.